Let's talk about 3 ways to pass data between blocks in Postman Flows. I have an example API here that returns a random user. Under the Flows tab, let's create a new flow and call it random user. Every new flow starts with just the start block, so let's click and drag a new send request block and select from the collections that are in this workspace. We were previously looking at the get random user call, and then calling that API upon success, let's log that output to the console so we can see what it looks like. So we open our console, and when we kick off our flow, we can see that Postman retrieves data from the API and logs it to the console. So here's that random user. So the first way to retrieve data and pass it between blocks is using an API. Let's delete some of these blocks. Another way to do it is straight from the start block. So we can hard code information. In this case, I have an object here. Let's call it JSON. And now the start block contains that hard-coded user. So let's create a new evaluate block and pass through that hard-coded data. Let's call it body. And let's just log that body to the console once again. So this time we do not have an API we're calling. We're hard coding and configuring that information from the start block. And here is that information. Again, no API call. We had the API call the first time. This time it's just directly hard coding that information here. What if you want to select specific information and not just output the entire body? Instead of the entire body, in the Flows query language field, we can actually specify what type of information we want to log to the console. So let's clear the console and this time run. And we're drilling down on the specific data that we want to log, Norway. So you can choose to do it this way with an evaluate block, or let's just delete that input and create a different input called select. We want to select data specifically from that output or input. So in this case, Postman knows what that data looks like, so we can drill down into the location, specifically the country, and then once again log it. So this time there's no input into the evaluate block, but we have an input into the select block. And when we run it again, and we can see it's Norway. So a couple different ways to pass data, specific data that you want to drill down on between blocks.